One good reason for starting off the story of Ulster at Lough Foyle is that hereabouts come many of the liners after crossing the Atlantic, and it has been the starting off point for generations of Irishmen who have left it to carve out a new life in the new world of the West. And Lough Foyle is also the gate to Londonderry, the great western port of Northern Ireland. The Derry part of the word Londonderry is derived from an ancient Irish word meaning an oaken grove. It was brought into use by the monks of St. Columba, who came here in the year 546 to found their monastery. The London end was added later, and the two became merged under the plantation schemes of the time of James I. There's a cannon here to this day called Roaring Meg, a favourite name for cannons. It's a reminder of a great siege in 1689, when James II and his army had a bit of bother with the apprentices. One of the most interesting buildings here is the Augustine Church. Near at hand is the St. Columba's Cathedral, which was built in 1628. Relics of the great St. Columba still exist, notably the St. Columba stone, which today bears marks which are claimed to be the imprints of the saint's knees as he prayed. So now the stone, the cathedral, and St. Eugene's Cathedral stand together in peace, reminders of serious troubles centuries ago when no doubt everyone thought the world was becoming a terrible place to live in, what with one thing and another. The countryside immediately surrounding Londonderry may not appear to challenge the world's famous beauty spots, but in the Spennin mountain country you will find the special charm of Ulster that has remained almost unchanged throughout the centuries. There is always something peaceful and pastoral in a flock of sheep. Where would you find such expressions of unruffled calm in an equal number of human beings? Armagh is one of the Irish towns which claims St. Patrick as the founder of the cathedral. St. Patrick, the patron saint of Ireland, whose day is kept in memory with such fervour. This is the Roman Catholic cathedral, but the Protestant cathedral also lays claim to the saint's patronage. Incidentally, it was here at Armagh that the Reverend Gilbert Tennant was born. He went to America and founded the scholastic establishment which has now become Princeton University. The romantic scenery of Lough Erne was the setting for stirring events in Irish history. This is the O'Neill country, and the O'Neills were kings of Ulster, and almost became kings of all Ireland. Proud memories for the O'Neills who span the world today, descendants of kings, now occupied with anything from high-grade politics to maintaining order and dignity on a policeman's beat. So from the lochs to the rivers, and from the rivers to the sea, to the coastline of Antrim, where the eye of the holiday-maker can rest upon the sand dunes and everything. Still, you can't spend all your time looking at the sand dunes. You may prefer to go to Portrush, to the golf course, where for the expenditure of a little more money and a lot more energy, you can spend your time looking at the sand in the bunkers. And close at hand are the rocks and the water of the Blue Pool, a pleasant spot in which to cool off after your game of golf, or even, if necessary, to drown your caddy. This Antrim coast was the stronghold of the MacDonalds. They came first to Ireland as lords of the Scottish Isles, but before long they settled down fair and square and became more Irish than the Irish themselves. Those were the good old days of the Norsemen and the Vikings, the good old days when a handshake for a visitor was less common than a bang over the head. Eastwards from Portrush is a series of strange rock formations, notably Chair Rock. Ulster, like most of the rest of Ireland, is mainly agricultural. The life of most of its people is rustic and simple, and in many respects there has been little change with the passing of centuries. They still cut peat in the old way to make fires. The Giant's Causeway is one of the world's outstanding rock formations. Ireland's legendary history tells you, as you would expect from its name, that it was put here by giants. And if you believe the legend that the Isle of Man was a rock dropped into the sea by a giant, you will have no difficulty in swallowing this as well. Geologists will prefer an explanation that speaks of violent volcanic disturbances, so you may pick your fancy, romantic imagination or plain. Also along this coast are the man-made round towers. Most of the Irish people will tell you they are the work of fairies. Others will say they are military defence works and cattle shelters. Once again, you may take your choice. And now to Ulster's capital, to Belfast, within its encircling countryside that vies for beauty with any of this green land. Within these surroundings, the city has grown up to be the home of some 500,000 people, the centre of commercial and industrial life in Northern Ireland. A seaport with a vast background of yards for shipbuilding, a city that provides such contrasts as a mighty iron foundry and the most beautiful, most delicate linen that ever won world renown. Donegal Place is one of the two main streets, boasting some of its finest buildings. And this is the Palace of Justice, a fitting home for the equitable law which is the basis of our civilization. Not far away is Queen's University, founded in 1845. Here General Eisenhower received the honorary degree of Doctor of Law. Royal Avenue, Belfast, another impressive thoroughfare, some say the finest and probably the busiest. And this is the City Hall. It is claimed, like all city halls, to be the finest city hall in the United Kingdom. And Belfast has erected a memorial to the soldiers of the United States Army. Here is the seat of the government of Northern Ireland, wherein is carried on the political and general administration of Ulster life. For Ulster, though a part of the United Kingdom, is governed independently with its own Prime Minister. This is the Prime Minister's house. Through the harbour of Belfast passes most of the Northern Ireland trade, the never-ceasing business of shipping. As long ago as the 16th century, Belfast began her business of shipbuilding. A colony of shipwrights was established here in the reign of Queen Elizabeth, and from this beginning has been traced the commercial prosperity of the city. By way of contrast, the latest development is motor and motorcycle racing, with the TT and Ulster Grand Prix races drawing thousands of spectators. But if you desire less noise with your entertainment, if the roar of the crowd and the petrol engine is not your fancy, then you may find your relaxation on the summit of Cave Hill. But you probably won't find it too crowded at Bangor. Newtownards is one of the towns where Ulster linen is made. It dates from the year 1244, and Grey Abbey goes back farther still to the Cistercian monastery of 1193. This part of Ulster is identified today with the family of Londonderry. The Mount Stewart gardens, in their fine horticulture, include experiments in the raising of subtropical plants. Downpatrick Cathedral commemorates the landing of a young slave at Strangford Lough after having been captured by pirates in Wales. This is said to have occurred in the 5th century AD, as you will learn from the memorial which stands to his name. All this part of Northern Ireland has many ties with the patron saint. The Saul Cathedral marks the site of his first church in Ireland. Inch Abbey is a Norman relic, for the Normans were great builders of churches. South of Downpatrick is a fishing village on a landlocked harbour guarded by dangerous reefs. Skirting the sandy warren is a little seaside resort called Newcastle, and a mile away is the neat little village of Bryansford, another centre of the Irish linen trade. Narrow Water Castle has nothing left of it but the square tower built in 1663, but it has a ghost, a Spanish bride who didn't like the move to Ireland. And southward, Warren Point stands at the inner end of Carrick-a-Rede Lough, another big attraction for holidaymakers who take their pleasures quietly. And so our story of Ulster comes to its closing chapter with the mountains of Mourne, which, as you have been told many times, roll down to the sea. So, to bring us back to earth and to the realities of modern times, the reminder that the little green Emerald Isle is divided between Northern Ireland of the United Kingdom and the independent Southern Irish Republic. Officials stand at the border to prevent smuggling and unauthorized entry, but they do say the ferries cross over without much interference.